Hello and welcome to this video. My name is Allie with A. Marie Speaks, and this video, as titled, is all about sequential growth. Now, what does that mean? I have brought this topic up within my energetic system series a bit, and I had promised to do a quick video on it. Sequential growth in itself is really just a model that organically infinite intelligence uses to grow through, to evolve through, to develop or ascend through. Yes, of course, there's esoteric, occult, underlying spiritual and metaphysical workings and understandings that reflect sequential growth, things like numerology. However, it's important that we remember, and it's sort of my intention with creating the system series, to kind of pull it out of woo-woo world from this sort of intangible, spiritual, sort of fantasy sort of realm that it usually is placed in, and to draw parallels and show how actually it's architecture, it's directions, which are common sense and logic, and which organic life, infinite intelligence in all its forms uses and follows through intelligent design. Now, if you haven't, just for anybody who's new, who happens to have clicked on this because of the title, please check out my energetic system series. There will be links below in the description or in the comments, all about this concept of systems being conscious systems, all of them, doing conscious work, and those transactions in the work of the system concept that is doing energy transactions. And that energy transactions is just not for nothing. There's a purpose behind them. There's a collection of resonance, charge, meaning, and purpose that happen within why the system is doing what it's doing. And that actually really plays a role in all of its life and all of its other transactions. So that's what I'm really trying to bring into the real realm here, the 3D, with tying this and running parallels to systems, because all of it is very useful in a very tangible, materialistic way. And when we understand that, we won't be tricked by the false presentations of a lot of the systems that are in the real world for us right now, which is, was my initial intentions behind all these channels and stuff. It's like staying awake in the matrix, finding others who are awake, and finding ways to navigate outside of it, build and thrive, outside of these negative structures. For those of us who can see outside of them, because some people just can't even wrap their mind around seeing outside of them. So, this formula is really the procedural working or the functionality of the systems, of all systems. And so if you're interested in learning about what systems are, how they use the torus tool to process, utilize, and maintain and store energy, check out my system series. Levels 1 through 3 are already up over on Telegram, YouTube and BitChute. So there's lots of stuff there. In my level 3 last video, I had brought forth the sequential growth topic and said that I would make a segregated video on it. So this is what that is. This is the lead up to it and the why. If you're wondering about it, you want to learn more about it, how a system utilizes it, check the series out. But I want to keep this video direct and short to the best of my capability, because if you know me, you know I can be long-winded. I really try not to be, but it's just how I am. So, sequential growth. A system will work through these steps in order to make an idea or a function or procedure. It can be any. These are all variables that can get filled in. But in order to do work in process energy in a way that it wants to, because we have to remember these are conscious systems run by creator consciousness. A fractal piece of it, yes, but it is still infinite intelligence at work here. So it has capacity to do thinking. It might not be this exact capability of mind, body, spirit that human form designates as thinking, right? But it is, and it is alive, and it has a world and a whole reality level that it inhabits and works through. Systems do that. That's how the boundary is built. That's why it's a system. More on that. Jump into my system series because I talk a lot about in the Foundations Level 1 about this. Understanding these undeniable truths and stuff about conscious systems. But just know that, yeah, that's what it's doing. And in order to do this in the best possible way, it has these directions that it follows. And each direction in itself, each number, is its own world. And it has its own infinite potentiality of discovery. It holds a theme. And then within that theme, you have a playscape to explore. And when you're done with that theme, the next one, like a step, becomes available, or like a door, it becomes unlocked and available to move through and move into the next one. And then you bring forward the lessons from the previous into this next world or landscape where there's a theme of building, and things get tested based on this theme of what the number is, and based on how you troubleshoot and decide to move through it, and also what's the purpose that you're actually trying to bring to fruition through the pattern, right? Is it meant to be? Is it really for now space, right? These are all things that come into play as you're trying to build something, as you're trying to bring a goal to fruition or to move through procedure, right? And so as we move through them, we're bringing what we need with us. We are like incorporating these lessons or these little enlightenment pieces of knowledge that we've worked through the previous theme into the next. And each time each new number is a new test, sorry, my nose is super itchy this morning. With the change in the seasons, and we have so much leaves falling here and stuff. I have a stuffy, itchy nose. Sorry. Everything will move through these. And each one, you come into the number or the level or the doorway, right, the step, as a new world. And everything can kind of dissolve if it's not meant to go through all the patternings, if it's not meant to be, if creator consciousness decides it's tired of it, decides it doesn't need to explore it any further. It's not of value. This is a whole other concept of determining value of intention that ties into sovereignty and worth and owning your right to your power, which I'm going to talk about next when I attempt to define the word intention and the language of the universe. So if that really sparks your interest there and you hear a lot of worth there, know I'm going to talk about that next, and follow your own intuitions, because yes, it's very important. It's a crucial understanding in the practice, but we'll get there after. But yes, just know that depending on whether you determine it worth going through the whole steps or not, really makes the co-creation of this project as you move through the steps, either valuable or not. And if it's not valuable to creator consciousness and it doesn't see worth in exploring it, then it will just dissolve, or it'll fall apart, or something will come into play in that theme that will shake it loose. And then again, it's up to you to take those signs, to hear that it's not worth it from creator consciousness, from your soul and spirit, from the ether around you, from others who are involved in the project perhaps even. It's up to you to take those cues and to hear them and just pivot, because you can force, and you can then you can choose cognitive dissonance and force your way through the numbers as well, and force a project that's not meant to be, right? So know that you hold the power in dragging these numbers through or allowing them to organically flow through as well. But they don't change. So I wanted to keep this video around 10 minutes, and I'm already at 10 minutes. So let's get into what is exactly sequential growth. What do we mean? we're going to follow, and I'll put up the infographic I've shared a few different times of numerology and the numbers so that people have a visual with a couple of key terms to tell you what each number's about. But we're going to go through 0 through 9 and just understand that just as we count, and just like we count, everything is infinite and these workings are infinite. The original one, single number digit is the initial starting points, and they are foundational. And you can, as you add in tens and hundreds, and there becomes other ways of incorporating those numbers, reducing them down to what they're speaking about. But just understand that what they do is they represent a world or a theme of thinking. And when they come together, those themes change a little bit. Just like when you have different actors in a movie, and a bad guy and a hero and the damsel and the sidekick, all of these archetypes, right? They each play a role within the whole of the plot in the movie and the theme, right? So it's a bit like that. And you have to leave open working space for all of these different characters to play their role within the scene. When they come together, they have different interactions and they have different things, capabilities and things. But to understand 0 through 9 gives you the keys to all of this. You can use your intuition to hear and learn the rest of it. So, obviously, it's sequential, and it follows this pattern, okay? So just like we count 0 through 9, I'm going to follow suit right through 9. So 0 in itself is the beautiful placeholder. It is the O shape. It is the toroidal from a distance. It is the mind-body-spirit complex, the plasma body from a distance. It is the void. It is all potentialities. It's also the 0 point, restarting, reigniting, refreshing. It is connection to imagination space. And when we see 0, it contains a placeholder to designate, depending on which numbers it's mixed into, what it's designating. And we'll get more into 0 after we talk about 9. So number 1. Number 1 is all about initiations, new starts, obviously. And like I've said, these things are not rocket science. This is common sense. This is organic growth. It all makes logical sense. It's nothing you didn't know. It's just adding the knowledge points, the references, so that you have the correct perspective and directionality at how you're looking and moving through these things. It's not to say that there's something that's going to be like falling out of the sky, amazing epiphanies. It's all right there in front of us always. But to understand what we're looking at, just like when those silly 3D pictures that you have to screw your eyes up at to be able to see, or when they do really cool chalk drawings or paintings on the ground, then that 3D art that looks like a hole, and you have to look from a certain angle to really know what you're looking at. And somebody has to tell you, there. Because if you don't have those reference points and you come at it from the other angle and you're just a person looking at art, you don't even know what you're looking at, right? And it doesn't make sense because you're not looking at it from the right perspective. So that's all I'm trying to really give by showing the perspective here. It's nothing groundbreaking. Okay, so 0 placeholder, all potentialities, newness, refreshing, drawing in inspirations. 1 is the first step. 1 is a new idea. It's that bing, I have that idea, right? It's that thought, that intuition, that little thing that comes in. It can also signify like a singular person, a leader, having that intuition point of direction, first in line, first to do something. When we get through newness and we have a new idea, right, and it's new, it's cool, and it's a discovery, and it kind of becomes our one focus, right? 1 is very singularly oriented. What happens once you've explored the playscape in the world of 1 and the newness isn't so new anymore, right? 2 comes in. The doorway to 2 pops in. And what is 2? 2 is the contrast, the opposite. Oh, if I didn't have this, then what about that? Or, oh, if that's the opposite of this, do I want to do that instead of this? Sometimes it can be another great idea that even pops in. And you have this choice point between, oh, my original good idea or this idea. Or, oh, my original idea was to do something, that I'm not going to try to think of an explanation off the top of my head, but of having a contrasting idea, the exact opposite of that, and being able to think about that for a while. Same thing, it can represent a choice too, like having this singular idea and then you have this other thing come in and you're at a fork in the road, right? And it's like, oh, do I think about this way or that way? And it can be a juggling point of what you want to stick with, right? As you come and you think and you balance between the two, which two is all about balancing, of course, right? When you choose directionality and when you have explored enough that you know what you want to do about these two, then comes 3. 3 is real creation. 3 is fruition of those. It's the intention of the original thought, the attention and desire and focus that comes with 2, and now you're ready to move forward. Now you're ready to get gears moving. Excuse me, getting excited. You can't get to 3 without going through 2, and you can't get to 3 without having the initial 1. And sometimes they happen instantaneously, sometimes they take years, right? It's time is not relative to this. But anyways, it's about when exploration is done, when you feel fulfilled with seeking those 2 different things, and you finally hone in on one, and you go for it. Now you're going to follow this project, this idea to build this thing. Then comes in 3, and you have all great creative juices flowing, new ideas, really firm, like getting things in motion, really getting the sketched out. You feel great about it, you're motivated about it. And that builds the whole world of 3. And as 3, you get comfortable in the building, 3 moves into 4. And 4 is those 4 pillars: foundation, firmness, really when things start to solidify and you start to feel good about what you're building. And you start to really see it taking form, right? And that is, you start to feel a little safe. 4 almost can be a boredom space as well. When we talk about numerology and tarot and things, there's a real risk of running boredom, getting sick of it. Oh, I see I can kind of do that, so good, I'm done with it now. Creator consciousness could get tired of it and not want to bring it to full fruition. Or it could be something where you start to really see it take form and it motivates you even more. There's a whole world of working of contrast in 4. And 4 can be a whole lifetime of work depending on what it is, right? Depending on how you react within 4, right? 4 calls for 4th, 5, because stability seeks to be tested. You seek to see, will my house really last? Will this project actually work? Will this invention, this mechanism, this tool really do a function? So let's go test it out in the world. Let's have people over. Let's really shake my house up. Bad storm comes through. All these things are 5. 5 is chaos. 5 is disruptions. A lot of times they're externally brought in because we've called forth them through the boredom or stability of number 4. And so our shadow starts to get restless in the 4. Depending on how much energy you're collecting in that project, what's the orientation, is it positive or negative? Are you doing a lot of clearing and light work and energy work through your project? Or are you stagnating? Are you allowing shadow and ego to really run it? Is there maybe problems with the people who you're working with, or even internal problems with motivation, creation, all these different bits that come together to make a project or idea? There's a lot of things that happen here to call forth 5. It's very individual. The variables are unlimited, and so I'm not going to waste time. I'll get more in depth in that when we talk about specifics, but this is, like I said, I want to just keep on point. So saying things go well, saying that 4 builds nicely and that you see it coming to fruition, and yeah, you like what you see. Then you call forth disruptions to test that, because you have to test the boundaries, you have to test yourself, you have to put it into the real world, and yeah, shakeups happen. And maybe it's like the house building metaphor, and a storm comes, and yeah, some things, just shutters fall off, a hole in the roof, you find leaks, you find a crack in the foundation perhaps. And 5 is all about how you respond to those things. Do they make you or break you? And that's a huge working all on its own. And it calls forth more of likeness. So if it starts to break you and you get into a negative realm, it's going to cause forth a lot more crumbling and breaking. 5 can be a whole rock bottoms. It can throw your whole project out the window, for good or for bad too, depending on what your heart and intention are and what your shadow and light are working at. what the system as a whole is doing, right? But anyways, 5, depending on what happens, 5 can really be beautiful because it can tell you we've got a hole in the roof, crack in the foundation, that back window's broken, and there's a draft in the attic or whatever, say. 5, organic, sees those things in a positive light and goes and fixes those things. It reaffirms. It's 4. It takes everything it's learned from 1, 2, 3, and 4. It has great purpose and worth, and it pushes through perseverance into 6. 6 represents perseverance, right? That mastery. After you go and fix that foundation and the roof and the door and everything, you fix those shutters that blew off, and you know, oh, I did it, yes. It's worth it. It was worth it to me. I stuck with it. Now it's stronger because of that. Now I'm stronger because of that. And I've learned so much because of that. And 6 is a great resting place of perseverance and of stability building, of recognition, and strength. And of course it's an even number. See, I didn't really talk about that either, but it follows an even odd flow of stability, stability, shake up, or input, output, rest, action, right? Light work, light, dark, shadow work. And if you utilize the flow, the sequential flow, with your own organic light and shadow work, you will see projects, momentum, fly through things. Everything comes to you, when you're listening and paying attention to these things. So into 6, you can relax a bit, but you're stronger. There's a sense of making it through here, making it through the storm. And now you don't fear a storm like that anymore. Now you know you can make it through it. You've reaffirmed your home. You'll make it through the next one. And if you don't, you have the capabilities to rebuild after. And that sight, that foresight and knowledge, the wisdom that seeps in level 6 is opening the door for 7. 7 is mastery. It's mystery. It's those wisdom knowledge points. Everything finally bleeding through into a bigger picture being finally available to you. And to saying, wow, great worth and purpose in all of this. How much have I learned so far? It's really a time to look at how much you've learned and what you've learned, how you incorporate it and how you use it, and it's all about intentions here as well, and your energetics, your polarity comes into huge play at 7. And you get these great sort of higher sight perspective. You have this point of sort of being able to cast judgment on yourself, on the project so far, on the work, on the others there, in a more all-encompassing view, and one that contains hardships, difficulties, obstacles and hurdles, and the successes, and the make-it-throughs, and the pick yourself back up, and the strength, and the excitement, and the that comes with proving yourself, right? All these things come together for 7 and become enjoyable, and then they melt into 8. And 8 is really about incorporating the whole system, the whole project. So, say if it's a project, like we could take it back to the house metaphor. If you are enjoying your home now through 6, and 6 is, enjoying that you've made it through, you've rebuilt, you can do it. 7 is kind of like, okay, how do I use that knowledge? Now I'm going to expand, I'm going to build a shed out back. I'm going to start to perhaps decorate the inside of my house, do some changes like that, right? 8, the whole becomes when you are able to finally have a beautiful family dinner, have friends and family over, be able to share the whole of the home and what it really means to you with others and as a whole, right? People can come in and out of it. They can see it, they can move through it, they can say, wow, you did such a beautiful job renovating this, oh, this looks beautiful. Everybody gets to enjoy it. And you also get to use it for the full purpose now, because your whole purpose in buying your home and renovating it was to have friends and family over, maybe, or to have a room like an art gallery to share your art in, or to have a space to cook for everybody because you love to cook, or have maybe you want to have a home business or a daycare or something there, you know what I mean in this metaphor. The whole purpose that you initiated to start the building of the home with, right? Or have kids and have a family in it or whatever. That's what the 8 becomes about. you know, those really purposeful uses that become available to you as the whole, through the whole project. And you get to use it and collect a charge. You get to use it and use it with others in some kind of way too. In 8, and in doing that, it becomes this sort of karmatic thing that happens, and it's asking you what kind of lessons you've learned through all of that, and your soul, your spirit, however you like to look at the integration and movement of that kind of energy, that really comes into play in the 8. You know, integrating those lessons, bringing them through all the layers of you, having the transactions to see, did you negatively incorporate these things? Was it really kind of selfish and negatively oriented? Or, you know, did you incorporate these more positively? Was it more service to others? Do you have great unconditional love at the heart of these fuelings of energies, right? How are you storing and hoarding them? Are you releasing things or not? You know, all of those big picture things come into play with the 8. In the banking model, I give a lot too. In case you're familiar with my channel, I give this bank model of different things. The bank as a whole, right? How does it function? All of it is the 8. The 9, for such a long time, I gotta wrap this video up. Oh, I just noticed 26 minutes. Whatever. The 9 and 8, for a long time, and I see this everywhere between tarot, numerology, people talking about gematria and different ways to learn and seek about numbers, will be slightly gray area between what's the difference between 8 and 9, really, you know? And 9 and 10 as well, because it's like, oh, they kind of all are like wrapping it up, completion, you know? But know that there is these really, really separate areas of working and themes here, because 8 has to do with the actual functions of what's happening. 8 is integrating all of the systems involved. It is actionary, it is evenly based, and it's all about karmatics, polarity, the emotions and energetic intentions of what's happening, how the system's performing, how it's interacting with others. 9 is really about setting the boundary around that thing and saying, from the outsider's point of view now, that thing, that business, that bank, and not being a customer, not being an employee, not being a CEO, not having affiliation with the bank, but being able to see it from the outside, give it that title, that label, and that boundary, and then say, oh, that bank is doing that work out there. And how does that bank act in the external world? Being able to have that really higher creator mindset, the bird's eye view on the whole of the project, the whatever it is. It's a disconnected but totally connected view of the highest possibility of that project or of that one thing, the system, really, that we've given a boundary and a label to that it is. Like in a play, right? When we think about how a play ends, when you've watched a play, we have the last scene. The last scene wraps up the whole of the show. The last scene is all about tying up the ends, making sure the plot makes sense, and stuff like that. That is 8. 9 is curtain call. 9 is when all the actors come up together out at the end. Everybody's clapping for them. They know it's a show. There's this sort of disconnected third person. It's a movie. It was a show. The actors are people. We're clapping for them for the show they put on in this role that they've done. And seeing it as a whole, the play as the whole, the actors as the actors, and appreciating it. That's the 9. And that's really what I'm trying to say about being disconnected, seeing things from different perspective. 10, it graduates into 10 when you take that same production with those same, in the same theater perhaps, and tomorrow night you're going to do another play. Tomorrow night they're going to come together and do it again. That's the 10 in action. That is the one initial idea, the first thing of the play, the whole, coming together with newness. It's a new play. Maybe there's even new actors playing the role there, but it's the same role. It's the same scenes. It's the same background art. It's the same plot, the same movie, but it's just different people playing it on a new day, right? And that's how we incorporate the one with the zero, because we're bringing forward everything we've already done in that initial 0, 1, 2, 3, that whole build up. It's that same project, but now done in a new way. And then it can grow. That newness could grow all through 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, up to 19 and into 20. Different lessons become incorporated as it grows. Or you're free to let it go and not play that again. Never see that movie again. You've already seen it. You've explored 0 through 9. You did it. Leave it. Put it in the books. That's it. And then next time you see it up on Broadway, do you want to go see it again or not? That's your sovereign right to choice. That's what I'm going to talk about next time. Do you need to go and really watch that movie again? You've seen it already. Yeah, the actors are different, but what are you going to learn new there? If there is, creator consciousness has an inkling and a desire, then that's your telling that there is something. Go watch it. There's something in there for you. Maybe they say a line in a different way. Maybe they cut scenes in a different way this time, and you need to see that. If you have an inkling of a desire to go seek more in that, then yes, you need to. But you have to have a conversation with yourself and see if it's light or shadow who's desiring and calling that moreness, you know? Because temperance, right, in all things moderation, balance. So balancing and testing yourself there and saying, no, I don't need to see that movie. I learned everything I need from that. I'm going to focus my beautiful energies, my new now moment on newness, because that's what I feel like I should be doing right now. That comes all into play as you move through the project as creator consciousness, right? That's what I was saying at the beginning. You have the choice whether to move up or let it dissolve. And that ties into oneness too, because at the end, we are all one. And out there, universe, God, source, every other out there is in this beautiful dance, this orchestration that has purpose and meaning and that has a flow to it. And yeah, you can't really see outside and see the whole dance with all the steps. You're in first person view, just in the line, just going around. But you have to trust and know that it does. And when we see things like this modeled for us, like sequential growth in the organic world, and it makes total sense, and you see everything can flow nicely through it, and it really is a beautiful guide for you to create ease and functionality, you'll see the truth in it, you know, and that's my hopes here for bringing this information forth. I will talk more back in the Energetic System series about how systems utilize sequential growth and how it works in different ways for different layers, different systems that are doing different functions. So if you're interested in that, definitely keep checking back to my channel for more. In the meantime, you can always find me on amariespeaks.com directly. Plethora of free information there, all things introspection, spirituality, and happiness. You can find me on Telegram at Amarie Speaks or Spotify under Amarie Speaks. Of course, on YouTube and BitChute for my Energetic System series, if you're interested and haven't seen it yet. So thank you so much for joining me for this. This is my quick half an hour, I guess is quick for me. Thank you so much for your audience and your patience. I really do appreciate it. And I will catch you next time.